Today, we're diving into the latest airport security and carry-on rules for 2025. With all of the changes happening in air travel lately, there's been a ton of confusion about what's actually changing and what's just internet rumors being spread by AI-generated videos. I've been reading your comments and messages, and I can see how frustrating it is to get conflicting information, especially if you haven't traveled for a while. So today we're going to break everything down and clear up some major misinformation that can stress out even the most seasoned traveler. Let's go. Let's start with something that seems basic, but it's still causing major headaches for millions of travelers, and that's the TSA 311 rule. Would you believe that in 2024, over 130 million travelers left water bottles in their carry-ons? I can, because my daughter did that on our recent trip going through security for our flight from Norway to Finland. Luckily, the security agents just poured the water out for her and ran the bottle back through the machine. And on our way through security, after clearing customs coming home, I saw 3 more bottles getting poured out at security, all given back to their owners afterwards. So it's not just a few forgetful people, it's a sign that even experienced travelers are still getting tripped up by these regulations. So before we get into what's new, let's make sure that we've got these basics completely covered. The 311 rule might seem straightforward, but there are some nuances that a lot of people miss. When the TSA or airport security says 3.4 ounces are 100 milliliters maximum per container, they're actually talking about the container size and not how much is left inside that container. And this is a crucial detail that can catch a lot of travelers off guard. And in fact, I've seen a few people try to argue with the TSA that their 6-ounce bottle is only half full, but that's not how this works. The rule is about the actual container size because the security officers need to be able to make quick visual assessments, and they can't stand there measuring the contents of each bottle. That would be ridiculous. And here's something that surprises a lot of people. The definition of what is actually a liquid is much more broad than you think. If you can spray it, spread it, pour it, spill it, pump it, or smear the product, then this is an item that the TSA considers a liquid. And this includes things that you might not expect, like peanut butter or hummus or yogurt, just to name a few. The first real rule change that has been made for 2025 is the rollback on the hand sanitizer rule. During the pandemic, the TSA allowed passengers to bring up to 12 ounces of hand sanitizer. Many people got used to that exception, myself included. But that temporary rule is now gone bye-bye, and hand sanitizer is back to the standard 3.4 ounce or 100 milliliter limit. And yes, this does include those little clip-on sanitizers that you can attach to your bag. Those are now going to have to go in your quart size liquids bag with all your other liquids. And yes, that is where I've gotten caught up too. I have one of those that I've been carrying on my backpack for a while, so got to remember to put that in my liquids bag for my next trip. And here's where things can get a little more complex: the medical exceptions. TSA actually has quite reasonable accommodations for necessary medical liquids, but you gotta know how to handle them correctly. If you are traveling with prescription medications, including liquid medications, you can bring them in quantities that exceed 3.4 ounces. This also applies to things like saline solution for contact lenses, liquid nutrition supplements, and even certain medical gels and creams. And for parents with young children, this includes breast milk, formula, and juice for infants for very young children. Like if you're giving juice to a toddler, that is included. Not if you have juice boxes for your 5 and 6-year-olds. Those would not be included, just to clarify. The key to making this work smoothly: organization and declaration. Keep your medications in their original labeled containers, and this isn't just a TSA requirement. It's actually a smart practice when traveling anyway, because your destination country might require this as well. When you get to security, let the TSA officer know that you have medically necessary liquids. Yes, this might mean a few extra minutes of screening, but it's worth it to avoid any issues. I recommend putting all of these items in a separate clear bag and not your regular liquids bag to make the screening process much easier. I want to mention here, if you do have a medical condition that makes going through airport security a challenge, whether it's a broken leg, cognitive issues, pregnancy, or hidden disabilities like deafness, you can reach out to the TSA Cares program to schedule an assistant to help you go through that entire security process. I think it's a program that is seriously underutilized and can be extremely helpful to those who need a little extra care. Now, let's tackle what is probably the hottest topic in travel right now, the supposed new carry-on luggage rules for 2025. And I've been seeing some pretty wild claims online, especially from that AI-generated content. And it's time to separate fact from fiction. Some videos are claiming that airlines worldwide have agreed on a universal carry-on size and that most current carry-on bags will not meet these new requirements. And I am here to tell you that that is simply not true. The reality is that carry-on regulations remain as varied as ever. There isn't some new universal standard that all airlines have magically agreed to follow. Instead, what we are seeing is a trend towards stricter enforcement of existing rules. For example, most U.S. domestic flights typically allow bags around 22 inches by 14 by 9 inches, while European carriers often prefer slightly smaller bags around 21 by 15 by 7. But these are just general guidelines. Each airline sets its own specific requirements and they can vary significantly. The weight limits are where things can get really interesting, especially on international flights. While many U.S. carriers don't strictly enforce carry-on weight limits, European and Asian airlines often have extremely strict weight restrictions, typically between 15 to 22 pounds, combining your personal item and your carry-on item. And this is something that can really catch American travelers off guard when flying internationally. As I said, more of these rules are getting enforced more and more often, and airlines are getting very serious about managing those overhead bins, and for somewhat understandable reasons. With more people, more and more people trying to avoid checked bag fees by traveling carry-on only, overhead bin space has become a precious commodity. And this has led to slower boarding times, which can be incredibly disrupting to the air travel system as a whole. Not to mention people getting testy over who has claim to what overhead bin space. As a result, we're seeing more airlines installing bag sizers at gates and being much more strict about personal item sizes and those supplementary bags like a sling bag or perhaps that Starbucks bag hack I've been promoting over the past few years. That's pretty much a no-go now. You can't do it anymore. And last year we saw Frontier Airlines catch a ton of flack when they started to charge fees right at the gate if your bag didn't comply. A good friend of mine had to pay $100 at the gate on her way to Puerto Rico on a flight she has flown dozens of times with the same exact bag. Needless to say, she was livid. All budget airlines seem to be particularly strict about this as it's becoming a significant source of additional revenue for them. So how do you protect yourself from all of these changes? The key is to be proactive. Before every flight, especially if you're flying with a new airline or internationally, take a few minutes to verify the exact requirements for your specific flights. Don't assume that what worked on your last flight will work on your next flight, even if it's with the same airline. Policies can vary by route and aircraft type. Nick over at Away Together with Nick and Allie has created a fantastic tool that lets you check your baggage size for your airline much quicker than searching the internet. And I asked him if I could share this with you, and he graciously said yes, of course. So the link is down below in the description. And if you haven't been following Nick and Allie, you might want to go check their channel out for more in-depth travel tips tips and updates. They're fabulous. They're fun to follow. Now, let me share 2 incredible resources that I think most travelers don't know even exist. First, there's Ask TSA, which is honestly a game changer. You can send them photos of items that you're unsure about through Facebook or even by text, and they'll tell you definitively whether it's allowed or not. And this service can really save you from having to throw away items at security. I would suggest that you take a screenshot of the answer that you get from TSA to have with you in case you get a little pushback at security. There are thousands of people working for the TSA that have been trained at multiple different times in multiple different ways. So not all of them are going to be aware of the current rules for any particular item or product that you are bringing with you. And I am curious, what is the strangest thing that you have ever taken through airport security? I was racking my brain and I can't really come up with one other than my wedding dress, but that was really before all of this airport security became kind of crazy. So yeah, I can't really think of one right now, but I'd love to hear what you guys have brought through security that was really kind of unusual. The second resource is particularly crucial for international travelers, especially if you take any kind of medication. Many medications that are completely legal and common in the United States might be strictly controlled or even illegal in other countries. Like I talked about before with Adderall in Japan, and I know things like Sudafed are also illegal in certain countries. Even if you have a valid prescription, always research your medication restrictions for your destination country well in advance of your trip. I have a link below to the CDC website specifically for those of you who are traveling abroad with medication. This is a fantastic place to start your research on your medication requirements. For more travel tips on how to speed your way through airport security, watch this video next. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have safe and wonderful travels.